Hello, I'm going to be going over the origins of Camp Pendleton and how it became a Marine Corps base. It's currently the largest Marine Corps base for the West Coast. Originally it was developed to fight the Japanese in the Pacific Theater. Originally it was a California rancho, so that's the historical significance of it. It was owned by Mexico, and it was called Santa Margarita y Las Flores. That's what the rancho was. So originally, it's actually a deep-rooted historical site for the Marine Corps because they occupied the area twice before it became a base. So the first occupation came during the Mexican-American War, and that's when 402 Marines in Southern California clashed in the Battle of San Pasqual. And the Santa Margarita Ranch House was actually the headquarters for the California forces, and it was led by Andres Pico, who owned the rancho, and that's where he set up his headquarters. He was the commander. There was a big cavalry battle, and eventually the Marines won this battle. They took over the rancho, destroyed the headquarters, and they occupied that land afterwards. So the decisive battle allowed the Marine Corps to have a legacy already in this area. So they attach a heavy historical emphasis onto the battles and their military achievement. So the capture of the Rancho House symbolized American domination in Southern California and directly tied Marine combatants to this geographical location before it became a base. The occupation of the rancho came a second time when, like, nearly 100 years later. And this was in March 1942. The United States Navy Department purchased 123,000 acres of the ranch to make it become Camp Pendleton, which is the region it is today. It has grown. It's 125,000 acres currently. So they preserved the original ranch house, the adjacent winery, and the bunkhouse. The next part is the political proponents and legislation that allowed it to become a Marine Corps base. So the U.S. government, through a Marine Corps general and Congress, laid the political foundations to legally acquire the land and allow it to be used for military use. So Major General Joseph Pendleton is what the base is named after, and he created Marine Corps bases throughout the West Coast, including San Diego, since 1924. He advocated for a large permanent base, but would not be granted this base until war broke out with Japan in World War II and Pearl Harbor occurred, and Congress moved quickly to occupy the land, purchase it, and one of the acts that allowed them to purchase this base is the Second War Powers Act of 1942, which was passed by the 77th Congress in March. So in Title II, it explains the legal acquisition and disposition for property for military uses. So this allowed Congress to directly acquire the land and use it and create a military base. So they purchased the Santa Margarita y Las Flores rancho and then converted it into a huge military complex to fight the Japanese in the island hopping campaign. And then the last part is the geographical strategic importance. So why did they want this land? So they wanted the land that became Camp Pendleton because it was strategically important to the Marines. It was reflected in the creation of the topographical map, which was the Santa Margarita Peak map created by the U.S. War Department. And this allowed training exercises to occur in areas with high mountain ranges, lowlands, major roads, waterways, and more importantly, it had a beach, so it allowed amphibious assault. So these huge distinct features allowed the Marine Corps to operate in training missions and pre-deployment training before they went to the Pacific Theater. So military generals really wanted this land. It provided vital benefits to expanding the military complex during World War II. A huge crucial part about the land was also the natural resources the government acquired. So it's interesting to note that Camp Pendleton includes 3 mountain ranges, 5 lakes, 3 rivers, 425 miles of fence already, 260 miles of roads, and numerous granite and flagstone quarries. So this gave the government a large amount of natural resources, along with an ability to practice. So a direct example of Camp Pendleton's use of training comes from the creation of the 4th Marine Division during World War II, and their record to first utilize the base for combat practice. So they participated in landing exercises near Highway 101 at the time, the field problems at Las Pulgas Canyon and the tank camps, command post exercises, pillbox assault in Windmill Canyon, night attacks near the Santa Margarita River, and similar field work. A Marine division around this time was 20,000 strong, and the conducted operations were full-scale war games. So this huge amount of area allowed the Marine Corps to practice and reflect before they were deployed. So Camp Pendleton has become the most important Marine Corps base because of its deep-rooted history, its political birth, and the calculated flexibility it provided to the Marine Corps. So Camp Pendleton has become a permanent base with a long legacy that will continue to cultivate the shock troops, being the Marine Corps, ensuring the security of the American experiment.